My name is Betsy Ross, and I was born in 1775 as Elizabeth Kristen. I was the 8th child of 17 children. Do you know how many children that is? That is a whole lot, because families nowadays are maybe 4 or 5, so we had a very big family. Well, I went to a Quaker school, and after I got done with the Quaker school, you see, all we learned in there was reading and writing. I needed to go to an apprenticeship, and because my Aunt Sarah had taught me to sew at a very young age, I decided that I wanted to become an apprentice at the upholstery shops. And you know, the upholstery shops are not like you think of today, where we just do cushions and they do couches and all that. This is actually, in my time, they did all kinds of sewing. They had to do the stuff that you see at the tailors nowadays, where they did dresses and shirts and all types of sewing. So for me, that was going to be the most wonderful job to have. Well, while I was there as an apprentice at an upholstery shop, I met a young man named John Ross. My heart leapt when I saw him. He noticed me too. And because of that, we grew to know each other so well that we decided that we needed to get married. So we eloped. Well, after John and I got married, we decided to go to his church. It was an Episcopalian church called Christ Church in Philadelphia. And his father was the assistant rector at the church. So we got to sit up quite close. In fact, we were in pew 12. Well, a couple of weeks after we had started going, all of a sudden, someone came down the aisle and sat in the pew next to us. And you will not believe who it was. It was George and Martha Washington, the commander. And I was so excited. Well, over a period of time, we got to talk to them a few times. And they were a wonderful couple. He was so humble, and she was so sweet. Well, because John and I needed to start our own business, we decided, since we were both apprentices at that upholstery shop, that we should start our own upholstery shop. Now, this is when we had the Revolutionary War. So there were many times where it was very hard for us to find fabric and things for us, and of course to get business. But do you know that Martha Washington was so gracious that she sent some friends to us, and she even came, and I got to do a couple of dresses for her, and she brought George's shirts. He was always ripping all of the ruffles and the cuffs on that, and so it was one of those things where I always was having to wear one of his shirts. Well, time went along, and things were getting even harder. So my husband, John, decided he was going to join the Philadelphia militia as a part-time job to bring in some more money. Well, he wasn't there that long, and sadly, one day in 1776, he was mortally wounded when the ammunition cache, or dump as you would call it, was hit. I missed my husband. He was my soul. But after a time, I picked myself up, and I realized that I had to go on, and I had to make my business work. So again, Martha and George Washington brought as much business to me as they could, and my husband's uncle, George Ross, was always there for me. And so I did make out a living. It was hard, but I did make it. And then one day I was asked to come to a meeting. Well, as I said, I went to a meeting that there was 3 gentlemen at. When the door opened, the first person I saw was my uncle, George Ross. And the second one I saw was a gentleman named Robert Morris, who was the financier of the Continental Army for George Washington. And the third person was George Washington himself. Well, I was totally shocked that I was at this meeting. I didn't understand why I was even there. So they asked me to sit in a corner, and George Washington and Robert Morris were still talking about some kind of mix-up about flags. It seemed that the British had misunderstood a flag that they were using that was a call to arms, and they thought it was a retreat flag or a surrender flag. They weren't sure. And you know, on the battlefield, that is something you don't want to do. So George Washington was saying, we need a different flag. We need a new flag. Well, they started discussing doing another flag, and of course they were wanting to use the 6-point star. Well, the 6-point star is very hard for us women to do when we're sewing the flags, because that's another thing we did at the upholstery shop. And we were doing our American Doodle. But I thought I showed them an easier star. Maybe we could put that on this flag that they were discussing. So while they were discussing it, I actually asked for a piece of paper, because you know they're not going to have any material in there. So they gave me a piece of paper, and I folded it in a lot of different folds. And then, with some scissors, I cut. With one cut, I cut off this angle. Well, you could tell by their faces that this is not a star. But after I got done, and I opened it up, their jaws hit the floor. Because you see, it was a 5-point star that I made. Well, George Washington was so impressed that he gave me the honor of doing the first flag and asked me if I could bring it back to him and show him what I had done. Well, I rushed to all the other ladies that did flags, and we created the first flag using the 5-point star. So, in 1777, in June, the Continental Congress, enacted that the national flag would be the flag that I'm going to show you. This flag is called Resolved, and it's 13 stripes in both red and white, and it has 13 stars, white stars, on a blue field, which represents a new constellation. Some people also call this the Betsy Ross flag. Now, there are some historians that do not believe that I did this flag, but I remember I told you that I sat in a pew adjacent to George and Martha Washington. They came to my shop to do many alterations and sewing items. And I did go to that meeting and show them the 5-point star. So, do yourself a favor, and whenever you hear somebody talking about history, don't just take their word for it. You need to read it for yourself, research it yourself, go for the pros and the cons, the counterpoints, the counters of it all, and make up your own mind. Because some people just pass on what they've heard, and it dilutes history. And we don't want to dilute history because we have a rich history here in America. And I'm a 4th-generation American, and I'm proud of it. God bless you all.
All you see is little girls having little babies. We've got to open up our eyes, not be blind of what we see. For the children whom we love will all be found here in the streets. I'm getting worried. This world of ours is upside down. I'm getting worried. Has a purpose. Can we make a change somehow? Can we make a change somehow? Youth today need our attention. They need support and so much guidance. Most of all, they need to know they are loved from the day they're born. Today they're using all kinds of drugs to ease their mind from pain and hurt. But if they knew I could only see, it only leads to agony. I'm getting worried. This world of ours is upside down. I'm getting worried. Can we make a change somehow? Can we make a change somehow? Misdirected is what they are. There leaves no hope in their hearts. They think that money is the key. Silver, gold, and Mercedes. They must wake up and realize there's more to life than what you buy. We will all die and we will leave all of the things of the world right here. I'm getting worried. This change somehow. Can we make a change somehow? Got to turn this world around. We got to make a change somehow. We are here to make a change. It's got to start somewhere, my friend. We got to start right now. We got to start today. Let's not sit and watch our children die in pain. We got to start right now. We got to start today. Let's not sit and watch children die in pain. Look in their eyes, what do you see? All that pain and agony. So many losing their minds and lives, contemplating suicide. If we let love reign within, treat each other like a friend, stomping hate from our lives, love El Shaddai and shine like light. I'm getting worried. This world of ours is upside down. I'm getting worried. Can we make a change somehow? Can we make a change somehow? People live and die in lies because they cheat, lie, and connive. Integrity does not exist. Hypocrisy is in our midst. It has become a rock and stone. This joy comes from the things he owns. Where is the love? Where is the peace? Why do we wake in constant fear? Life and death lies in your tongue. What you speak is what will be done. What you believe is what will be done. What you think is what will be done. What you speak is what will be done. I'm getting worried. This world of ours is upside down. I'm getting worried. Can we make a change? We gotta make a change. I'm getting